Okay, we're recording. Wrong Speed record chat number 46. We have Jim Donadio. How you doing?
Hello, doing well.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
That's fine. That's fine. So we don't know each other at all. Okay, that's the deal. And but we know each other through people. Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Luke Younger from a previous episode got in touch and said that you need to come on. And Michael Kasparis from a previous episode, who runs Night School Records, said you need to come on. So here we go.
Excellent. Thank you, Luke and Michael.
Good people. So tell me, where are you?
I'm in Lakewood, Ohio, which is Cleveland is 4 houses that way. So I'm on the Lakewood's the first suburb west of Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah. And have you always been in that area?
No, I grew up about an hour and a half east of here, near the Pennsylvania border, small town called Niles, right, which was near Girard, Ohio, where Stiv Bators was born, in case anyone cares. But
people care. That's the stuff people care about. You know that. Yeah. Look. We've got the Dead Boys album here.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm prepared with some Cleveland records. Just
I've got a connection to them somehow. Yeah.
Good. You can tell us all about it then later.
That's exciting, but yeah.
So tell me what you do, because the band name I've got as you being is Prostitutes.
Oh, yes.
Don't like Googling it, but I did.
That's part of the reason I chose that too, is to make it nearly impossible for anyone to do it without getting something nasty.
Yeah, yeah.
I like making landmines everywhere I go around me.
There's a few bands like that. There's a punk rock band from America called Sex Vid.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Do you know that band?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know Michael has good stories. So.
Right. Okay. I don't know the stories. I got one record, and again, not very easy to search for online.
Yeah, I do that. And I also do Stabudown Productions, which is less raw stuff that I do. But I've been doing more of that lately. Just where my tastes have gone, nothing else.
Yeah. So you've released stuff on Diagonal Records. Yeah. Where's Diagonal based?
London.
London. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. I've got like a Not Waving record on that label.
Oh yeah.
This one here.
Yeah. Favorite. Well, yeah, that's my favorite one on Diagonal. He had records on his own label, Ecstatic, which are not dance oriented. They're fabulous also. But yeah, that's my favorite one on Diagonal by him.
Yeah, this is great. We played with him actually.
Great.
Which I really like. So we're like a rock band, for want of a. Yeah. That's what it is. But it's always good when you play with someone like this. We played with Karen Guire as well, but it's good when you play with people like this because it kind of mixes up the evening, makes it a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's when I play locally. I'm always on bills that make no sense outside of expectation, which I love.
Yeah. What would you describe your music as?
I don't know. Prostitutes it's well, everything I do is hardware based. I don't do any software, laptop, and that's it's not some sort of staunch stance. It just became one, just how I like to work. But Prostitutes, it's more, that stuff's raw. It's more aggressive maybe at times, looser. The Stabudown Production stuff is, because of the productions in there, it's actually more produced, a little more melodic.
Yeah.
But it's electronic music. That's as general as I want to make it. I mean, people say industrial, which I don't agree with. But,
no. Yeah. So the Prostitute stuff I've seen recently is on Michael's Night School label.
I did 2 EPs for him. Yes.
Yeah. But there's a long list. You've got like Opal Tapes. How did you get in touch with him?
He got in touch with me. What's his name again? Basic House Guy. I can't remember.
But I know him more for this band.
Oh yeah, I've been after that record forever, and it just never shows up. Not in the States, but I talked to him about that, and he promised to send me one. Of course, it never happened.
Yeah, it's on Burning World Records, which is, I think, it's part of like the Roadburn.
Oh, okay. Yes, Bishop is his name.
Yeah. Yeah. So he runs Opal Tapes. And so it's interesting because it's the northeast of England. This is so he's got in touch with you then.
Well, when I released I had self-released CDs, 2 of them that they were like 25 copies. Did nothing with them. Then I did an album, Psychedelic Black, and that's where everything like Boomcat somehow got a hold of me. And those 100 copies, which I thought I'd be sitting on 85 the rest of my life, were gone in 2 hours, and then all hell broke loose. But there was someone named Matthew Kent. He does Blowing Up the Workshop.
Right.
And he also runs a label, which the name escapes me now. But anyway, he was doing this series of tapes with Stephen Bishop.
Yeah.
And they were collaboration tapes, one side each person. And so Matthew Kent told Stephen Bishop, and then Stephen Bishop got a hold of me, and that's how that tape came out. And that's really early. That's like right after, like 2014, maybe 15.
Yeah. It just jumped out because again, Drunken Hell's a band we played with once or twice.
Oh, okay.
And for the record, they're a band never to go on after.
Okay, I would imagine.
Yeah, you can't follow it at all.
Yeah, I've been looking. I looked for so long, I just stopped. It's like it's out of my want list now because of it's never showing up in the U.S. And
right, okay, yeah. I think it was really delayed in releasing, and they really fannied about with it, and eventually, I don't know. And to be honest, I don't even know if they're going anymore. I don't think they are.
No idea.
No. Digitalis, that's a label.
Yeah, that was my after Psychedelic Black. That's Brad Rose, who disappeared from the face of the earth, who ran that label.
Okay.
That's still odd. I have theories as to how that came about. If you want me to say them, I will. But it was just very odd. I had no idea why he contacted me.
I do want you to say.
Well, my theory is when Boomcat did really well with really well considering they sold every single copy of Psychedelic Black. All of a sudden, Brad Rose contacted me, and then I didn't piece it together until a few years later. Because they were P&D'd through Boomcat, and I'm pretty sure Boomcat said hey, we're not doing it. You put this record out, and because it just didn't seem like anything Brad would be interested in, and so that record came out, and I think it was one of the last records on Digitalis. There was only a couple more, then he just completely disappeared, and the whole label just went away.
Well, as someone who now I started running a label about a year ago, and I know you do, so Stabudown is also a label, right? Would you say?
Yeah, Stabudown Recordings is the label.
Yeah. So now I'm sort of doing a label and have done for a year. I can see why you might want to disappear off the face of the earth every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it my way, which is all my label is a rubber stamp I made and an entry on Discogs. It's like everything else it's minimal. It's it's hardly a label. I don't want to. People like you are actually doing work with a label. I'm just basically self-releasing at this point. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But we've got. There seems to be about 10 different labels: Tram, Planet, Diagonal, CGI, Myra, Spectrum Spools.
Yes.
There's quite it's one of those. I know Luke with Helm and all of the stuff he does. Numerous different labels. It seems that's the world for it, isn't it? It's just
well, I was just getting offers frantically, and I make a lot of music, so I was like, yeah, if you hear something, if you like it, and it's obvious if you look at Discogs that all that was a short period of time and it quickly dissipated, which is fine. That's just the way life goes, and that's why I started self-releasing. Plus, it's tumultuous times for labels, and fine. But yeah, they'd ask, and I had the music, and so I just gave it to them, and it happened.
Yeah, cool. And so you're in Cleveland. I've got a few Cleveland records here I'm going to show just for the hell of it, because I never get a chance to talk about this band. It's the Pagans.
Oh yeah, it's right behind me. Same one. Yeah. They were Pagans. Blakewood is where the shop. There was a famous record store here, whose name, of course, escapes me. It was in Lakewood, Ohio, and that's where it's written in the liner notes. But that's where they basically started, in that record shop.
All right, cool. Yeah, this is one of those records, and I showed a previous one. I showed an Orchid record a little while ago, some screamo punk band.
Yeah.
But what I used to do back then, this is pre-internet, okay? So this is on Crypt, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would, at work 20 years ago, we didn't have a computer at home, print out interviews and keep them, and then insert them into. What do you think about that?
I love it.
Still got it. Yeah, I just use the work printer and just print out interviews, either Maximum Rock and Roll or this wouldn't have been. Actually, this is just a Pagan's biography. But yeah, just print out as much as possible for me to read at home in the evening.
Well, that Pagan's record, it's, I mean, they put other ones out, but I mean, that's basically a collection. It's excellent. They were great.
Yeah. Garagey punk rock, right? Essentially, you don't know. Yeah.
No one around here was doing it remotely.
So. Yeah. Oh yeah, look at this. Midnight.
Oh, you mean Midnight?
Yeah, I do exactly mean Midnight.
Yes. Yeah, one of my favorite bands. Right behind me is basically every single Midnight record. I love them.
Oh, right. Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I've known, it's a long story, long history with them. So it's a good one. I mean, I love them. Him, it's basically just Athanar. Yeah. I won't say his real name because I'm under oath. So
yeah. Fred Smith. Yeah.
Sonic Smith. Yeah.
But we my oldest son, he's now 20, but about 2 or 3 years ago, we went to see Midnight.
They're great. Yeah, because he has a band live. I saw Midnight when they first started. It was just Athanar. It's so odd to just say that, but when he first started the band, it was him and a cassette deck and a guitar. And then he moved to, actually, it was a CD player, and that started skipping. And then he went to cassette. But then what happened was the cassette was running slow, so the tunings were off. So he would tune his guitar naturally, but not to the tape. And so he was completely out of tune. And then, not the name drop. I was just over Athanar's Lair this last week listening to records. So we were talking about that. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're big fans in this house. And,
I love them. Yeah.
We saw them at the Dome. They played the Dome in London. Well, it must be, it's obviously got to be about 2, maybe 3 years ago now. And we drove up from here. We're about.
Yeah, keep talking. So
we're like 150 miles away from London. But yeah, we drove up after school and went.
This is just. I mean, these are all Midnight records. So.
Sweet. Yeah. The early ones were on Shifty, weren't they?
Oh yeah, So basically, the very first thing, which was they kept changing the name, was Complete and Total Fucking Midnight, which was a collection that was on My Mind's Eye, Shifty, and Outlaw. There was 3 labels. My Mind's Eye is a record store in Lakewood, which I named, by the way. I want the world to know that. Okay. Because I was supposed to help start it with Charles, who started the store, and then it took so long, I eventually got a real job. And but he kept the name. But yeah, he was notorious for releasing records with 2 other labels. It was, so every record came out with 3 labels on it. But whatever, yeah.
That's the world of this stuff. And like the music band that I do, sometimes you'll release a record and it is on 8 labels. It'll have like 8 logos at the bottom or whatever, just because you want to get, you want someone in Spain to release it.
Yeah.
Because it just saves on postage and everything. Our second and third albums were on Shifty Records.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Gary who runs the label.
Yeah.
He put out 2, which was her second album, of course.
I only remember Shifty. I never knew his real name.
Yeah, Gary from Akron, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's a very British way of saying it. Yes.
But, okay, how are we saying it then?
Oh, here it's Akron. I mean, my Cleveland accent's coming out of Akron, but it's Akron.
Akron. Okay, whatever. But yeah, no, Gary at Shifty, he put out 2, and our third album, Project Death, and I think he did a split 12 for us as well with a Japanese band.
Wow, I had no idea. That is very bizarre.
Yeah, and so that's how I found out about Midnight. Actually, going through the label's back catalogue, so I knew about them back then. And I've got a few CDs. So
they're great. Great live. I mean, they're excellent. I've seen them many, many times. Yeah.
So if anyone doesn't know, they're kind of classic metal, whatever. Like, I don't really know how to say it because that's not selling it right at all.
The term is blackened rock and roll. Like, it's very Venom, Motorhead-ish kind of. It's got more of a rock vibe in some ways, but I mean, changed over the years through the records, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it says here. It says Hotter Than Hell in the Metal Punk Underworld, second album from the premier Hooded Demons.
Yeah.
And then they use the word pile driving.
Well, also Pile Driver is a big influence, I believe, that group. Pile Driver. Produced by Bob Mould of Husker Du. The first Pile Driver record, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Integrity, are they from your neck of the woods?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
But DeWitt, who was basically Integrity, he moved out of here a long time ago. I think he lives in, last I heard it was Berlin or something. But oh yeah, they're legends here. I was never a fan, not that I disliked them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're still huge here. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was going to say
there's like 20 people in that band, you know, and I know 18 of them. So
yeah, okay. And this, I didn't really believe this one. I saw is John Spencer from Cleveland?
No.
I need to look that up. I saw John Spencer listed as being from Cleveland.
Oh no, I don't. No, I don't think so at all.
I'm going to look that up in a second. Oh yeah, Henry Mancini.
Oh my God, from Cleveland. I had
Yeah,
no idea. The budget bin ruler. Yeah.
Yeah, this is 50p probably tops. I think he's from there.
Oh my! I had no idea. He's schooling.
James Gang.
Oh yeah, that's the only one I have left. Actually, I had them all, and then I got rid of them all, but kept that. That record's there. Cleveland, yes, actually Kent, where I went to school, Kent State.
Okay. Right.
If you look at the back of their first album, they're James Gang, excellent. That's a phenomenal record.
Yeah, okay. And oh yeah, the last one, and this I did not know until today, is 9 Inch Nails.
Oh yeah. Well, if you want some story, I got a good. Well, there's a couple. Trent Reznor's family, they were in the HVAC, heating and cooling business. So if you go to bars around here, still there's these giant heaters up in the wall, and they say Reznor on them. Like they're but yeah, here's a quick funny story for you. When they first began, right when Pretty Hate Machine came out, I was still in Kent. I think I had graduated, but I stayed 2 years past my prime at Kent. And my friend was friends with the original drummer. Right. And he was, so many people let go and fights and whatever. Him and Trent had a fight. And so he was let go before the first album came out. Like it was recorded, done, but he was gone. Wow. So Sunday night, we always go to this one bar. And we were sitting at the bar, and on MTV had this thing called 120 Minutes, which they showed.
Yeah.
So maybe that was a Saturday night. Anyway, so we were sitting at the bar, and his name was Chris, and I didn't know him well, but you know, he was sitting next to me, and my friend was on the other side, and we're sitting there just slumped over drinking, and the 9 Inch Nails video came on for Head Like a Hole, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and all of a sudden I'm looking, and he's in the video, and they're like, this band's going to be huge. And I look over at him, and Chris is just sitting there with this mug of beer with this look on his face like, mother. It was just like, I'm like, that's, and I just say it works. I can tell he was completely bummed out. But he eventually joined them again and was on many tours. But it was just very odd that they were just this band people knew. And I went to Akron one year, and I went for, what's that called when you go, orientation. So I went early for orientation. They had this party or whatever, band was playing, and it was this band called Exotic Birds, and they were all dressed very New Romantic. And I went to see them, and they were fucking awful. And that was Trent Reznor's band before 9 Inch Nails. I had seen him, and that would be 1986, playing with the Exotic Birds. Yeah.
Awesome. I saw 9 Inch Nails once, and I saw them on the Pretty Hate Machine tour.
Oh.
And a couple of friends and I went, and we were like knockoffs. The room was completely full of people wearing just black clothes and nothing else. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
Well, obviously they were big here, but goth was very big here. There was a couple big goth clubs, and a lot of those bands came through, and it was a huge deal here.
Yeah. So, are you saying that none of these bands influenced what you get up to? 9 Inch Nails?
No, I did have Pretty Hate Machine when it came out, and then tired of it quickly. There was a short period where I was into like kind of like that, and like KMFDM and Insurab, but that did not age quick with me well. That kind of went away, but it wasn't really an influence. I mean, musically, but Pagans. I mean, that's just like part of my DNA from being around here for so long.
Yeah.
But not Henry Mancini. And, Midnight. It's weird because we're kind of we're the same age and been through the same thing, so it's not really so much an influence, but it's an admiration.
Yeah. And there's an attitude as well, I'm assuming, with all those bands.
Oh, it's a Cleveland attitude, 100%.
Yeah. I remember going to gigs, like little punky gigs, and it would be like bands over here would sometimes be described as like Clevo, sort of.
It's weird. The farther you get away, there's I'm gonna out him. I don't know if it's outing. James Singer is his name. I don't know if you know James. He's friends with.
Okay, yeah, vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, and I met him in L.A. He came over with Lowest Form. I was playing a festival with them, and he's a huge Cleveland fan. It was just so bizarre. He's like obsessive about it, and he knew all these bands, and I'm like, it was just shocking that this guy came over from England and was like asking me about bands that no one in this town gives a shit about. But to them, it was a big deal.
Do you find that though? That the nearer the band is to their hometown, the smaller they are?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah, it's true. Like I always talk about the band Arc Welder, who are on Touch and Go. I know I don't want to just talk about rock bands to you, so I apologize for this, but Arc Welder is my go-to example of a band who I don't think are very popular, though.
No.
Like, but the further away you get, it's like, oh, I love Arc Welder.
Like, that's strange. Yeah.
They played at ATP here, and everyone went. Everyone's like, yes, Arc Welder.
That's bizarre. They were just like a random. I mean, I remember them. I think I had a record at some point, but
yeah. Anyway, let's get off that. Let's try it and get off that stuff if possible. Tell me about Michael was saying about a venue in Cleveland. Now that's class.
Now that's class. Yes.
I looked on the website. There's gigs happening tonight.
Oh yeah, they're slowly having some gigs.
Yeah.
Pretty much open here in Cleveland. I mean, everything's open. I mean, there's no more restrictions on anything, so it's completely open. But they're slowly having shows. I don't know who these people are playing, but they're having shows. Yeah. And that's the only. I mean, I've played a couple venues in town, not many, but that's the one I played the most, and basically the only one I'll play because I've had just terrible experiences at other ones. But and I know the owner. I know him, and the people who work there. I know them, and I go to shows there, and they're very open-minded about music. Very. I mean, it's totally a punk venue, but anybody can play there. It doesn't matter to them. They're just.
Tonight's band is brutal and pissed hardcore. I can't remember the name of the band, but that was the description.
They're not using. It's just the regular normal, not the new normal. So that's good.
But Michael said that he played there with you.
Yes, which has been on video on YouTube. You can see it. I'm glad actually 2 different people filmed it, but that one is up there. Yeah, I'm so glad that happened, and it was filmed, because that kind of stuff never happens to me. Like these rare moments in my life, they're always just gone. But that one's saved for posterity. So
yeah, was it you and a fellow from Emeralds? Is that right?
John Elliott, yes. It was a project called the Ranker Index, the most ill-fated thing I've ever been involved in. It was. I was asked to do this, and I think it was flippant, but since the person who asked me is, in my mind, a legend and someone I just admire, Carl O'Connor Regis. Right. And I think he had this label, Jealous God with Silent Servant. Right. And he was like, here's what I want you to do. I was in New York, and I remember we were partying, and he was like, hey, I want you to make this record, and these are the influences, and do it. And I think he was just talking shit to me, but I took it so to heart, and I put this thing together. I wanted Michael to sing, and I was grabbing people, and I worked so hard on it, and then Carl left the label, and it was just Juan, Silent Servant's label, and he had nothing to do with this. And I don't think Carl even told him that this record was supposed to happen. So eventually got to the point where I knew, I always say it was Carl's baby, and he just left it on Juan's doorstep and knocked on the door and ran. And Juan was like, I'm not taking this thing in the house. So I basically took the baby back and was like, this is over with. But it's just ill-fated. We recorded barely anything. I keep trying to switch it around. It never works. And it's not because of the people involved. It's not because of Michael at all. It's just cursed. I mean, I can only go down the road so many times and still fall off the cliff and then come back over it. So I'm just done with it.
Yeah. Time to move on. Yeah. So, but we're here to talk about records and your records ultimately. So let's start and see where we go, shall we? I send you a list, the same list I send everyone. So hit me with a record from your favorite record shop.
This is a loaded question because it's not just my favorite record shop. It's part of my life as much as the job I do during the day, as much as anything in my life. It's called Bent Crayon. It's been around since 1995.
Yeah, why do I know that? That's a label, isn't it?
No, it's just a store, and he's been around since 1995. And I've been shopping there before it was even open. Like while it was still being built out, I'd go in the back door and buy records. He would still bring them in. But and John, who runs it, is one of my closest friends. I talk to him every day. I'm in the shop 3 times at least a week. I mean, it's more than just buying records, which I do a lot of there. And I did pick one record, but I quickly wanted to just show an example of how important it is to me and what his store is like. So this is Cleveland, 1995, 96, 97. This is what's coming in the shop at like $6 a pop. And he's like, you should check these out. And it ends up influencing me for the rest of my life. So I just grabbed like basically all the Photech records. I mean, these are he's bringing these in just like, oh, here, check these out. And I'm buying every single one of them and just loving every second of it. And then, next thing you know, he's like all the Purpose Maker records, Jeff Mills. I mean, I love Access, but Purpose Maker is the label that really got me hooked on techno. So this is like 95, 96.
Mm.
Like these are $5.99, I remember. And just like, oh, you should check them out. All right, pick them up, And then, Roulette, which is Thomas Bangalter's label. And this, on the Stabudown Productions stuff I do, this is huge for me. It's still raw, but very melodic, And then kind of jumping around, Chain Reaction, which I kind of like better than Basic Channel, but that's apples, oranges, doesn't really matter. But
yeah, I worked at a place that distributed them.
Yeah. Oh, you're at Vital, right?
Yeah. It was SRD, I think. Was
yeah. And finally, like these, which are high price items, these DMZ records. I mean, he's bringing these in 2005, 6. Nobody knew, they're just showing up $7 each. I'm buying them, and loving them. So, if you can go back in time for people, it's like these were just records that were coming into the shop, things he stocked, and that's just a fraction of it. Yeah. So this store is huge to me. So, but I wanted to give some background. I just want to just pull this one random record out and talk about it. But the record I pulled is this. Now, you'll never find this. You'll never know about it.
I don't know it at all. No.
It's IRBS, which I believe is Infrared Beat Seekers. Don't even know. The EP is called Sever. It was on this World Federation label. It's from Cleveland. You can't Google it. It's not on Discogs. There's no information about it. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. And he was selling it. And it's instrumental hip hop, which a lot of that didn't date very well. But this record is phenomenal. It's so raw. I mean, you can hear the stuff just being slammed into an SB1200 and shot out immediately. It's so good. I just listened to it before I came on here. But, I mean, so this is like a record that he had in the shop. No one ever had. No one's ever going to have. And, it's with me and I love it. And
would the local fellow would have brought it in?
Yeah, and I mean, that person, still not really sure who that is. There's a younger person who's like really into local music and buying records, and we were in the shop and we were just talking about this, and he started researching it and found the person who put it out somehow. I don't know how, but still the guy never really gave him his name, and he talked to him and sent him a copy, but it's just this. I just love the fact that you can't find this record. There's no trace of it on the internet anywhere, and it's a great record. But
that's rare, isn't it, nowadays? That's rare. Everything's listed. Yeah,
it's shocking. I mean, this was about 3 or 4 months ago. I was like, oh, I'm going to look this up, and I couldn't.
Cool.
And it's honestly, it's called IRBS, but for some reason, the crew is called Missile Launcher, I believe, and we always referred to them as Missile Launcher. And then when I finally looked at the record, I'm like, it doesn't say Missile Launcher anywhere on here. I don't even know where that came from. It was like the Mandela effect. All of a sudden, we were naming this band something it never was. But
only recently learned about the Mandela effect.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna act like I knew it forever, but
So did like the Jeff Mills stuff was like Underground Resistance and things a big influence?
um, Underground Resistance not much, but Jeff Mills for sure. I mean that's common. I'm old, so a lot of my influences are just stock influences nowadays. You know.
Yeah. Well, what did I get here? I did get
It was huge.
the Drexciya album. I was thinking maybe what there in the sun. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
which you know, I love this record.
Oh, it's excellent. Oh, they don't have really there's not a bad record in the bunch, really.
No, no, no. And it's the same with. Do you have that there?
What's that?
Electroids.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's the same sort of kind of thing. Yeah.
It's related. Is it James Stilton involved in that also, or it's somebody from Drexciya, which I thought.
Yeah, that's the deal. Yeah, and it's this is a clone reissue.
Yes.
I've got the original, of course, but it came out again a couple of years ago. But yeah, I really like it. It's kind of mixing up Kraftwerk with the Detroit thing. It sounds to me.
Yeah, I always thought Drexciya was on the fringes. I mean, it was Detroit, but it didn't sound like fully like Underground Resistance. Maybe some of the jazzier stuff, but like or Mills or Hood, who I love.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but yeah, that was like 96, 97. I was just coming off the tail end of drum and bass, which I was hugely into, and still I still am. But those were the records. Those and actually the British techno scene. Those are the records that really got me into techno. Obviously, Regis, Surgeon, Christian Vogel. Neil Landstrom. Those were the records that turned me on to techno, and Detroit too. But the British scene was huge. I loved those.
That like the Tresor label and things like that.
Yeah, that was Berlin, but a
But
lot of it was cross-pollinated. They were British. I mean, Landstrom and Vogel were on Tresor, so.
Yeah. I was what's that? The one I'd like someone to issue a nice vinyl box of all the British Murder Boys stuff.
Oh, vinyl. Yeah, they only did a CD one of it.
Yeah. Be nice, wouldn't it? I could.
I have all but one 12-inch, so I would still buy it again because But yeah, I don't know. And maybe just cost effective. They just didn't do it. So.
Yeah, but now's the time. Come on, like who cares? We only did once. Yeah.
Well, next time he bothers me.
So the shop's called Bent Crayon.
Yes.
I know that name.
They've been around forever.
Yeah, they've either had I've never been to Cleveland really, but they've either had adverts somewhere or there's something that's ringing in my bell.
Well, if he worked for a distribution company, he was buying from all those places, so you may have just seen it from there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Any other shops in Cleveland?
Oh yeah, there's well, Bent Crayon's, just to let you know, it's all new. There is no used, but I mean, it's always just new records, and that's what he focused on. Everything's what's coming out now, but he's been around for so long. The back stock is stunning, so it's that there's that. But the other ones, there's used ones. There's a great used record store in Cleveland called Hausfrau. Steve Peffer runs it. He was in, though he probably doesn't want me to say, he was in Nine Shocks Terror. He was the singer for that band. He's in a great band now called The Mind. They're excellent. But yeah, he runs this great record store called Hausfrau. But there's many stores. Cleveland's filthy with them. There's still a lot of stores. And there was always like chained record stores. There was never a want for records in this town, ever. Still.
How show my ignorance, how big is Cleveland?
Yeah, I'll show you more ignorance. I have no fucking idea.
Like in people, then, in amount of people that live
there. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea. It's shrinking by the day, so I don't know.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should.
It's the largest city in Ohio, but whatever that means, I don't know. But.
No, right, okay. We'll stick with that then. The largest city in Ohio. I bet, have they got that written on their little nameplate when you drive into the city? The largest city in Ohio, probably. Well,
there was two Cleveland sayings. One was Cleveland is a plum, because New York was an apple. In the 70s, it was Cleveland is a plum, which I never understood. And the other one is Cleveland, you got to be tough. And Chrissy Hine used to wear that shirt all the time, I remember. But I always loved that one. Yeah, it was this Cleveland skyline. It said Cleveland, you got to be tough, which is absolutely 100% true. But
it's still true.
It's a tough place to live, weather-wise, work-wise, anything. Everything's you got to put in effort to get anything done around here.
What is it you do? What is your job?
I work for myself. I've been doing it for 20 years. I do IT work. I'm more of like a plumber than a brain surgeon. I don't do coding. I just do basic stuff. And after the last time I got laid off back in after 9/11, I was like, I can work for myself and not, and fire myself if I have to. I'm not letting anyone else do it. So yeah, I just work for myself. When the time arises, I do it. I mean, I've been doing it for 20 years, so it's it works for me. But
and you have enough time to get to the record shop 3 times a week. So
yeah, I have a lot of time. Yeah, charge a lot of money per hour and work very little hours. That's what I learned. So
that's kind of the dream, isn't it? Right there. Damn.
Okay,
Let me make a note of that.
Not
many hours, lots of money. Hit me with a record with memories.
Okay. This is pretty pedestrian, but it doesn't matter because it's my memories, not anyone else's. It was actually very easy. It would be Physical Graffiti, and it's this exact copy. And I am so off center here in my life and in the picture. So I love Led Zeppelin, maybe one of my top 3 favorite bands. Love this record. And I don't remember how old I was. I know I wasn't driving yet, but it was my birthday. And my parents, we just had a small thing, had a cake, whatever, gave me a gift. And I remember just, frowning and they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, I really wanted this record for my birthday. Not that they would even know, but they were like, oh, right here. And they gave me whatever it was, like $10. And I left my birthday party, jumped on my bike and drove down to a place called Bear's Den Records, which was the small independent shop, used shop. And because I knew we had a copy there for $10. And as soon as I got the money, I just didn't blow out the candles. I got on the bike, rode down there, bought the record, and and came back as soon as I could. And I remember having it in a little bag, and I had it on my handlebars, and it was slapping my knee as I was pedaling, and came home. And and to this day, and that was many, many years ago, almost 40, but every birthday, which it's coming up, I play that record front to back on my birthday every time. So that's obviously the most. I mean, I have a lot of memories for records, but that one's one that I know everything about still.
I used to do that. Ride a bike to a record shop and cycle home, and the record was really irritating to carry.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah. I do have another record that's birthday related, and it's kind of a good story. And that would be, it's not this copy. I had to get a different one, but it's Queen Jazz. Again, I was younger, and my friend Dominic Specca had a birthday 2 days before mine, so I was over his house. Meanwhile, we had the Columbia Record Club where you buy a record, you buy for a penny, you get 10 records, then you're stuck buying another 10 for like $100 each, or whatever. But I remember getting that record. But I was at my friend's staying over for his birthday, and he was playing this record, and he took it out and showed me this, the naughty poster,
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God. So I got home and the record was there and it was opened, but I didn't think about it. And I was like, oh, I didn't get the poster. So months and months go by. And then I realized, since I was too young to have it in my name, the mail came to my dad's name. They opened it, saw the poster, took it up and threw it away. And I didn't know forever. So I spent a long time pissed about that. And then one day I was shopping. It was like 50 cents. And instead of just stealing the poster out of it, I'm like, you know what? I'm buying it again. So I bought the album again for 50 cents. And it was in better shape than my other one. So I got rid of it. And so there's another birthday memory with this record, which I do love this record. It's the last great Queen record, in my opinion. But
what got you into records in the first place? This is young you're talking here, isn't it? Like Led Zeppelin and that.
Yeah, I'm trying to... well, what got me into records was music. Just music, because that's all I had some 8-tracks laying around. My brothers and sisters are much older than me. My parents were in their 40s when they had me. I was a complete accident. So there wasn't so much of their influence, but I was like into comic books. And then I remember distinctly one night being up late, and this was late 70s, early, maybe 80. It was like 12, 13. And I saw, it was like a review of the year in music or something. And Elvis Costello was on there. I was just taken back, and it was like this isn't a rock star. I'm like, this guy's weird. His toes are pointing in. He's like disheveled. I don't know what. And I remember asking my mom, I wanted My Aim Is True.
Yeah.
And I also wanted B-52s, which Wild Planet. And so she went and bought them because she worked at the mall and went to the store and bought them. And I just slowly became obsessed with music. And that quickly switched to like Black Sabbath and Blue Oyster Cult and Led Zeppelin and things like that. But I was just obsessed with music after I was only really into comic books and heard music, but then it was just music, and records are how you listen to music.
Yeah.
And so that's, and then at that point, it was just records. I didn't know any better. I just kept buying records and never stopped.
And but by the way, the inward pointy toes thing, that was just everyone in the UK back then. We all had rickets and everyone. It wasn't just Elvis Costello.
I just thought it was teeth that were the issue. I didn't know it was actually osteoporosis. Yeah.
Yeah. We no fruit over here. It's a nightmare. Yeah, like we had the record club that we did was a similar thing. I don't think it was called Columbia, but it was similar, where the first couple were, you get like 3 records for about £1, but then you were tied into like one a month, and you had to pick one from a little booklet, and you go through the booklet and be like, oh man, this sucks. And you'd try and get out of the deal as quick as possible, but you'd keep the free ones from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were also stamped, like the ones here had said like, record, it's a Columbia Record Club on the back of them, which always bothered me because I felt like they were tainted. I didn't want that on there, but whatever.
Well, they might be worth something now.
Well, I don't know. On Discogs, they differentiate them on Discogs when you go and look, but
right, yeah.
The pressings were any different. They just, slapped that on there.
Yeah.
Boy, that was boring. Okay.
They still do it now. You can still buy, every now and then, there'll be like a new series of magazines in the shop. And recently it was like a jazz one. And you go in there and you buy the magazine, it'll have like a Miles Davis album. And then the next month, they're still doing it here.
Oh, wow.
That stuff, yeah. I know. Yeah, we're 100 years behind. Yeah.
I've been to England a few times. I can attest to that.
I've been to America once, right? I went to America once with my wife in 98, 99. I went to New York. It's the only time I've ever been, about, a year or two before 9/11. We chose to go up the Empire State. We're going to go up one tall building. We went up Empire State. Anyhow. What the hell was I going to say about America? Oh, yeah. The adverts on the TV, they were literally 10 years ahead of what we had here.
Oh.
Like it was all like internet-y, computer-y stuff. We sat there like late 90s watching the adverts in America going, what the hell is this Blade Runner shit going on here? 10 years later, it was hitting us exactly the same. It's like internet protection, internet this, whatever. We were way behind.
Yeah, I mean, I spent time in Scotland, and there's no such thing as a clothes dryer. There's like these racks you hang clothes. I mean, like and then air conditioning, forget about it. That doesn't even exist.
You don't need air conditioning on this island at all.
I was hot a few times and I was upset. I need every convenience given. I need all mods con, not the jam record. I need the actual thing. So.
Actually, I'm a bit clammy now. Think about it. It's quite warm today. So you've gone metal there with Led Zeppelin and whatever else.
Okay.
Again, just speaking with Michael.
Yeah.
We mentioned it, I think, before we started recording. You took him to a hair metal festival.
Yes, that was such a lucky coincidence. We played a festival in LA. Actually, it wasn't in LA. It was in Irvine. And one of my best friends and longest friends, Tim, he works for a energy drink company. He was doing the sponsorship. And it just so happened that this festival was like the next town over from where our festival was, because Lowe's Forum was playing and I was playing also. So I asked Tim, I'm like, can you get an extra ticket for my friend Michael? And he was like, yeah. So during the day, we went to Irvine Meadows, which is no longer there, and it was this giant hair metal festival. I don't know if it was I think it was like Ricky Rackman's Cat House Festival or something.
I know that name, yeah.
But I took Michael, and of course he was the palest person there. Fabulous, fabulous. Yeah, that's a great documentary.
I think he might be on that. But yeah.
So we went to that, and I took Michael, and it was more like an experiment just to see him amongst true Americans. I'm, but we had special privileges, passes, and we were going to eat. There was a food tent backstage we were allowed to go in, so we were waiting in line, and I was with Michael, and so we had special passes, and there was these girls, and they were very short halter tops, very short shorts, hair done up, and we had passes, they didn't. And so they start like oh, and like hitting on, and I could see Michael, the devout feminist, not knowing what to do. Like, how do we react in this situation? And they were totally trying to con us to give us their passes so they can go in there. And I was just laughing, and I could just see him like, should I give him the pass? Is this? I was like, no, we're going in to have tacos because I'm starving. But we went in, got our tacos, eating, and then Rudy Sarzo, the famous Rudy Sarzo, the bass player from Quiet Riot and with Ozzy, came in and sat down the table next to us, and I saw Rudy Sarzo eating a taco while I sat next to Michael. But it was great. It was a lot of fun. There was like just no name now, but like 80s metal bands, just balding, overweight, playing hits that no one remembers. Yeah.
Love it. But have you ever seen the before, like that Poison album where they're all like dressed up with their hair and stuff on the front?
What the cat dragged in, yes.
Yeah, and then someone did a recent version of that with them looking like what they look like, kind of more like it's really mean.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say this, and I'm going to hold it up and the reason I'm holding it up is because I spoke with, in a previous episode, I spoke with a chap from Minneapolis called Reznor. He runs Learning Curve Records, right? And we were talking about like metal and whatnot. And this was the version of Appetite for Destruction that came out in the UK. Okay.
Oh yeah, the original cover. Yeah.
Did that version come out in America?
Oh yeah, I was working at a record store at the time, and I remember that coming out. Yeah, it disappeared quickly. I wish I've had that record 6 times. Bought it, sold it. Bought it, sold it. Yeah. That's what came. I don't know if that's the import only, but we had it at the record shop I worked at when it came out.
Yeah. Well, Reznor said it wasn't in America, and I wasn't sure whether as we were talking to him, I believed him, but now I'm doubting him.
Like I said, I thought that was also in the U.S. version, unless it was just an import version that we had, which I wouldn't believe. But
right. But this was, of course, absolutely enormous here in like 87, 88, of course. But I learned today, and one of the main reasons I'm showing it is Steven Adler was born in Cleveland.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I bet at this point he still has no idea.
No, I've looked him up. He was kicked out in 1990 for heroin addiction.
Yes.
Was in the Bullet Boys, probably played that festival you were at.
Yes, they absolutely did. Yeah.
and then did a band called Adler's Appetite.
Yes, he did.
But from Cleveland. So
yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, so now you can be really proud.
One junkie from Cleveland. Who would have guessed?
Yay! Bargain find.
Okay, I got these right here. Sorry, I'm looking down. I thought I'd put them in. Well, I got a couple of those because basically I'm so old, everything's a fucking bargain. But I'm going to start off on, you know what? I'm going to start off. I'll go to the big hitter last.
Okay.
So this is one of the bargain finds, Witchfinder General's first album.
Yeah.
There's a chain of stores here in Cleveland, which is still around, called the Record Exchange. And they were an institution. They were everywhere. And run by these 2 brothers that fought all the time. And one took one side of town, one took the other. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so at one point, they got strict and things were sealed. And you had to bring them to the counter to open them. But they were very good about records being in good condition. I never really concerned. So this was, I don't know, maybe like $10, $12. And this was 15 so years ago. And I was like, well, that's a deal. So it was sealed. I'm like, I'm not going to bother. And so I bought it and I came home and I opened it up and lo and behold, the second album was also in there.
Oh, that is.
So I got both albums for 12. I mean, it doesn't have a cover, but it's still there. And there was this collection this guy sold named Cobbs. I think you can see it. He wrote his name on everything. So I have quite a few records from Cobbs, some great records. But this was a great bargain. I'm like, well, I have it now. I mean, I don't have. Maybe someday I'll find a cover, but it was well worth it. So I thought for $12, getting both of the Wishfinder General records is a good deal.
It is a bargain.
Yeah. But the real bargain, I shouldn't even take this out. It might ruin the wealth of it. But according to Discogs, this is the most...
Have you got original of what you're about to pull out? No way. Is that the original?
Yes. According to Discogs, this is my most expensive album that I own. And at Record Exchange, it's in decent shape. I mean, as we say it's well partied on. I don't know if that's a term you're familiar with, but
I know what it means, but yeah.
But it still plays great. But yeah, it's original. And this, I knew everybody at Record Exchange. I was like, I mean, I was there so much, I got special treatment. And this had not gone out yet. And at that point, this was mid 90s. I wouldn't spend more than $5 on a record. And they had black label stickers on records that were 50 cents, later $1. So I know it wasn't a black label because that would go straight into the bins. But I think I paid $5 for this record.
Let's have a look at the back.
Oops, sorry. I'm really bad with the whole camera.
Yeah.
So this is probably the biggest bargain. So $5 for this. And I think it's, in mint shape, it's worth $1,500 at this point. So.
Well, I don't doubt that's worth right up there as well. I got a bootleg.
It's a pretty hard record, but yeah, and I love Estes. They were like one of my favorite bands. I actually love the last two records that everyone detests, but I love How We Rock and Break It Up.
Yeah, the metal ones. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fucking horrible. I love them. They're great. Those are the ones I listen to. I never put on Kids Will Have Your Say or Get It Away anymore. But I mean, I listen to the crappy ones now.
I heard that might be getting reissued. So if you're gonna sell,
oh no, that's sticking with me. Yeah. Unless I'm really hard up for money, but even then I probably won't. But and then,
were you into like the Discord world as well back then, or was it just like Boston-y?
That didn't stay with me long. I mean, not long. But yeah, at the time, it was. I mean, I got into this stuff in the 80s, so, it was what was around. Like, I couldn't listen to Minor Threat now. If you had a gun at my head, I would, but I just can't listen to Minor Threat. But, I mean, still love the first Dag Nasty record. I mean, kind of like, I like Rites of Spring. It's just, I don't listen to it. I have an original of that, too. But, yeah, but I was mostly, I mean, that was more like, obviously, later I mean, I was really into hardcore. And that was when they were starting to get more melodic, and most of the stuff on DC was like, I never liked Government Issue though. I know that for a fact. But,
yeah. What about The Lowest Form?
I loved The Lowest Form. Yeah.
Good answer.
I didn't know them until I met Michael. And he told me he was in the band, and the first time I played London, I played Cafe Auto. It was fucking horrible. But I was in Glasgow before that, and Michael gave me a Lowest Form shirt, and so I wore it there when I was playing. And apparently somebody had texted Chris Bress and was like, "You're not going to believe this guy from America is wearing a Lowest Form shirt." I'm like, yeah, it's not that amazing. The guitar player gave it to me. But and then I met Chris, who is, Chris, I take it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just a fabulous human being. There's no one I was lucky enough to spend time with him in LA. He is just a powerhouse of a human being. He's excellent.
Oh my God, yeah.
But yeah, I saw them. I got to see Lowest Form. I was so lucky in LA at that show at the festival. They were great. Yeah. Before they had the other guitar player, it was just Michael.
No, I'm a big fan. I love them. Yeah, I hope they do another record. But yeah, Chris Press is. Sorry.
Have you played with them?
Yeah. Yeah, we played. I can think of a couple of times. Once at the Buffalo Bar in London. And also like Luke runs a label, Paco runs a label, Michael runs a label, and Chris is Chris. Like,
this one's his mouth. So there, yeah.
But he works in a record shop. So, but between them all, they're just like
Yeah.
high quality vinyl nerds from
No,
top.
it's great. Yeah, Paco's awesome. I mean, I got to get that Rudimentary P9, that new record. It hasn't shown up here yet, but I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
And I saw, real quick, one of my many bargains, but I saw you had a great Don Cherry reissue in the back a few weeks ago on which that record's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But this is one of the bargains. The original copy of, well, this is the 1990 version of Brown Rice, which is the U.S. version, which is a fabulous record. But yeah, I got this for a couple bucks, and it's worth something. But it's just an excellent record. I love Don Cherry.
Yeah, I say with the bargain find stuff, I know that it sort of traditionally means money, as in you bought something for £3 and it's worth $1 million or whatever. But sometimes it's more like you've just massively had your value from it, you know? Like even like a record that you buy for $20 or quid or whatever. If you've listened to it 100 times, like you've had your value from that record.
Yeah, or it's a record you just don't see, you know, and you get it. It's, you know, it's our particular circumstances finding it. That's a bargain.
Yeah. And I say it all the time, like I've like people questioning my nerdery in regards buying records. I don't know what you think about this, but like I always like, I'm like, you'll buy a book for £10 and read it once. Yeah. You know, or not even once, you know, nowadays.
No, I agree. Well, I know people collect DVDs, which is great, but like how many times you're going to, I mean, when you get a movie, you have to sit, pay attention and watch it. You can't put it on in the background and it's going to go for 2 hours. Yeah. I don't listen to anyone who complains about being a nerd about records. It just doesn't mean anything to me.
No. I've long since moved on from that. Okay, bought on tour.
Okay. First one, I have two because I can't just do one. That would be this Cramps bootleg. This one is Totally Destroy Seattle, which is one of my favorite bootlegs. It originally was cassette only. I'm a Cramps is maybe my number 2 favorite band of all time, and I buy every bootleg. Well, as long as it goes to 86. After that, I don't. I still love the Cramps, but I don't have everything. But I have a huge Cramps selection. But anyway, I was in Glasgow at Monorail, and in that infamous markdown section where I found so many great records. But this was a big deal because I've always wanted this bootleg, and I've never seen this in the States ever. And I walked in, and this was like the second record I find, and it was, I don't know, £8. And I was like, I just freaked. I think sometimes when I record shop and I find something, I'll literally audibly go, ah! Like and I did that. I was so happy to get this. But yeah, this was one of my favorites because I love this bootleg, and I'm glad somebody bootlegged a bootleg to put it out.
It's really hard to keep a poker face in it when you find something like that. I'm terrible.
I can do it when I'm playing cards, but I can't do it when I'm buying records.
Well, I guess once it's in your hand, no one's going to grab it from you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I was so excited. I mean, it's one of my favorite feelings in the world is seeing a record that I just can't believe I'm finding. So that was a big deal for me.
That's the beauty. The reason I asked this question is for that sort of thing. Because it's, by bought on tour, I just mean away from your normal hometown. Like you might just be on holiday.
Yeah.
But if you stumble across a record shop in Paris that you'd never normally go to, and they have this thing, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's almost are you familiar with the concept of the familiar stranger?
No.
Where you can be on a bus every day going to work and see this person and never say a word to them. And then you're in another city and this person happens to be on vacation there. And you're like, hey, we ride the bus together. And all of a sudden you want to talk and know all about them. So yeah, it's like, I'll see a record I see here 100 times and I see it's, in another country. I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you a story. But,
I didn't know that had a name. I didn't realize it was familiar stranger, but that's exactly true. The further away from home you get, the closer you get to someone you never speak to normally at home.
Yeah.
Like, you're out for dinner within seconds with someone you've never spoke to in your home.
Yeah. You're like, let me get your number.
Yeah.
Even though I saw you every day on the bus. And then the other one was the other two are one, which could also be a memory record, is I got this in Bristol at St. Nick's Market. I think that's what it was. It was a stall. It's a John Cooper Clarke. I've been looking for this record for a long time and never see it in the States. So there was somebody, it was just that day was magical. Everything about that day when I was in Bristol. But I was taken to the market, had this Caribbean food that was amazing. And then we went to the record stalls, and this guy was selling records, a lot of reggae stuff, which I also purchased. But I saw this, and I mean, I'm not much for spoken word, whatever, but I've always loved Jonathan Cooper Clarke. Just love him, especially because he's on that famous show when Joy Division was on.
Yeah.
He was also on that one Tony Wilson did. I can't think of it. It was on Manchester TV. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
So I was plus Martin Hannett did this, and there's some excellent Martin Hannett production on it. But I was another one of the things where I saw it, and I don't know, maybe in England this is like, a Phil Collins record to people. They see it so often, but to me, I never see it. And so I was very excited to pick that up, and obviously it stuck with me. It's a big deal, and I've already sampled it and hopefully never get caught. But
no, he won't be watching this, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Where in Bristol did you play?
Surrey Vaults. It's no longer there.
Oh, right.
I played one of the last shows there. Yeah, it was incredible all around. The whole night was. I mean, everything about it was like my fantasy of what Bristol would have been like. Because I mean, Bristol. I mean, when you sit and think about the music history of Bristol, it's mind numbing. It's just like it never fucking ends. I'm like, you can go, drum and bass, you can go dubstep, whatever, but then you just like Flying Saucer Attack, Crescent. I mean, you just think like, the trip hops. And it's just like every genre. There's so many amazing bands from Bristol. It was just a deal to me. And it did when I got there, it was, it lived up to it. And the show was one of the best shows I've ever had. Everybody was just cutting loose. It was a Wednesday night, and it was spilling out into the street, and everybody was just drunk and having a great time. It was phenomenal. And I stayed in some hostel, which I had written a song called Bristol Hostel, which I named after that night. But it was next to a club, and they were playing drum and bass. I couldn't sleep. It was so loud, rattling the walls, but it was comforting. I'm like, I'm in Bristol, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and all I hear is fucking drum and bass. This is heaven.
Well, that's my near city. Bristol is my nearest city where I live.
Oh, okay.
So I live about an hour south in Somerset, which is southwestern UK. And Bristol is definitely the bass city, I would say. But it's the sound of choice is just bass, and that's Bristol.
Yeah, exactly. Which that bass is a big deal for me. But it was just being in Bristol was like my British wet dream. It was the best British experience I've had yet. So, well, I've had a couple good ones. Manchester was good too.
Yeah. It's funny, like you mentioned that about the drum and bass thing going on late. I speak to Ralph Bassclef. Okay, so
I love his I love his records.
Yeah. I wish I had it. I just got a new record from him back from the pressing plant yesterday.
Okay.
Just pressed up 300 copies of his new album. Hello, Ralph, if you're watching. I love Bassclef. He's awesome. But he used to work in a record shop. Yeah.
I would say the record you did on the label Out of Idle Hands. I can't think the name. It left my mind right now.
Oh, yeah.
I love that 12 and the 2 on Trilogy tapes. I play constantly, and I'm very excited for this album. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And Luke did an album, didn't he? Acid Tracks.
Oh, I don't buy shit on his label.
No, not away. There's a great record. So, so Ralph worked in a record shop in Bristol, and he said that people would spill out of the drum and bass club at like 9 a.m, go straight to the record shop, and then sing the bass lines of the songs they wanted to him, and he would have to supply them the records for them to buy at like 9-10 in the morning.
He was like a human Shazam.
Yeah, exactly. That was his job. Yeah, he lives in Rotterdam now. Actually.
Oh,
in Holland. Yeah. Why am I talking about that? Well, I don't know. Record that people. Oh yeah. So if the Cramps are your second best band, who's your number one?
I don't really. I just throw numbers around. I mean, Cramps, actually, New Order, maybe. I mean, number one. They were. I mean, I was very young. I actually discovered New Order right before Joy Division, but I didn't pull any of the records out because, like I said, it's at this point almost passé. But I mean, I remember being very young on vacation with my parents in Florida and finding the Confusion 12-inch, and that just rearranged everything. And it was Confusion and Thieves Like Us, but New Order's huge. I have every book, everything, every reissue. Like I just collect. I love them. But yeah, New Order, Led Zeppelin, Cramps. Those are kind of like bands that I can always listen to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bands like that, but Cramps are up there. Mostly because they're American, and Americans started everything, so I have to throw them up there.
Absolutely everything. Well, I'm under the impression that New Order were more influenced by what was going on in New York in the dance music world.
Yes.
Like the switch from Joy Division to New Order happened in that world, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, like Arthur Baker, who did Confusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that opened up my mind to like freestyle music, like early electro freestyle, which I also just obsessed with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Actually, because New Order's recent stuff doesn't have Peter Hook, it sounds really weird.
No, for me, anything after Technique, I don't even. That was '89 or something. So yeah. But I was lucky enough to see them on the Brotherhood tour with Gene Loves Jezebel and Echo and the Bunnymen. I remember it was an incredible show. And they played for an encore. They played like a 10-minute version of Sister Ray. It was an outdoor venue on the river here, and it was a beautiful summer night. And I remember the boats were going by. It was just, I remember everything about that night. It was fabulous. So I was just lucky to see them when they were still good.
Yeah. Actually, weirdly, for me, New Order, I didn't get into them at the time. It was one of those bands that I think because of my age, by the time I was getting into music or whatever, they just seemed like a pop band or something, and I didn't quite get it. But recently, I've been listening to Technique loads. That album in particular, for some reason, it's just.
What's odd is when that came out, I bought it and I liked it, but I never loved it. And then it was years ago. These compilations came out on a label called Safe Trip, and they were all they were called Dream House. They were all Italian house music from the late '80s, '90s, early '90s, which I never heard. And it was around the same time as Technique came out, and I heard these records like this is where they stole it all from, and I love those compilations. And then Technique became a whole new record to me, and now I love it. Yeah. It's really odd. It was just decades later after I heard what they had ripped off that record came into perspective to me. Because I always put it in the view of New Order and not in the view of what they were influenced by. So all of a sudden I was able to break down those blinders and then meld it all together. And that record, that's the one I go to the most now. I love it.
Yeah, I can't believe that I like it now. If I'd have spoke to myself back then, it wouldn't have made any. It's really weird, isn't it? The way I think I'm more broad-minded now. Maybe we all are. Do you think?
Yeah, I have friends, geek friends. We talk about this all the time, like liking things that you would have hated at the time it came out. And I don't know. We try to figure out: is it getting older, or is it like you've heard so much that you just want to hear things you didn't hear? Yeah. So there's bands whose records I hated in the '90s, and then I'll go back and like, wow, this record's really good. I didn't want to hear it then because it was different, but now I want something different. I don't want to hear the same thing over and over.
Yeah, no, exactly. You can be badly influenced as well on things. Like for me, there were certain bands around late '80s, '90s that I didn't listen to because I didn't like what their fans looked like. Do you know what I mean? Like certain bands, I'll be like, I don't need to be hearing this. I don't want the Pixies. Like, I don't want your little boots with flowers drawn on them. Like, keep it away from me.
I know. I mean, I was a huge Replacements fan when they were happening, and I saw them, and then they became really big. Like, same with the Pixies. And I was just like, I sold everything because I was like, I don't even want this around. And I ended up buying some of it back. But yeah, it was the same thing. I was like, the fans made me just hate them.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but whatever.
That's why it's quite good to do music where you have no fans.
I'm being bothered.
Where are we? Record that people wouldn't think that you'd like.
I'm sure this has been discussed on episodes. Like, how do you gauge this? Because most people don't know who the hell I am anyway. But I did find something. It's indicative of a whole genre. So I have a lot of these records, but I just grabbed one because it's so gaudy. But I can say for sure, even people I know well that know I'm into this music are still disgusted that I am. So, and that would be Bubblegum. So this is the 1910 Fruit Gum Company, the album Goody Goody Gumdrops. I don't know if you're familiar. It's a very American genre. All right. So bubblegum music it was late 60s, and basically they called it Bubblegum, but all it did is just sell products. It sold bubblegum. It's like the Archies, Sugar, things like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Super saccharine sweet, and I mean, it's hard to listen to for some people because it's but it's so subversive. All the lyrics, anything that's about candy is actually about sex or sexual organs. It's just, to me, it's always been subversive. Even when I was a kid and I heard it, I was like, there's something wrong about this. But I love bubblegum music, and it's a singles genre, but I love albums, so I have these albums. And there's so much crappy filler, but there's also some really weird psychedelic crap on there. Because one thing they used to do is the singles would come out and they wanted the A side played. So they'd press the B side. It would be noise, or it would be a song played backwards at half speed. So they would force the DJs never to play the B side, only to play the A side. So that music's there, and it's completely bizarre. But yeah, I love bubblegum, and like I said, my girlfriend hates that I love it. I mean, if I put it, I can't play it at home when she's home. She'll just scream at me. It's. I mean, for music that's so melodic and catchy, it is so grating, and I love it for that. I think it's
all like major key happiness all the way through. Is that the
what?
All like major key happiness.
Yes, it's over the top, but it's so over the top you can tell they're fucking with you. I mean, they're only fucking with you. Not to get suicidal with you, suicidal tendencies. They're fucking with you subliminally, but I mean, it's basically like we need it as accessible and poppy as possible, and there's no gray area, and so it's just so distilled. It's basically like eating a bag of sugar instead of having a candy bar. So it's that intense. But I understand people hating it. It's hard to listen to because it's so straightforward. But I love it. So yeah, I would say, plus that cover. I mean, come on, goody goody gumdrops. It's just.
Look, I'm just looking at her ass there. Is that what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, they're cartoons. Yeah, of course, like I said, there's all this weird sexual innuendo that's thrown in, and then yeah, it's just creepy because it's aimed towards preteens, and they're singing about sex. It's basic, I don't know.
Rusty Oppenheimer.
Yeah. So, but the 1910 Fruit Gun Company is one of the many bands. The Archies, Lemon Pipers. There was a lot of bands, and I've got 6 of these of their records for no good reason. But that's definitely something that people who know me just find awful.
Just awful. Like REM really don't like their song "Shiny Happy People."
Well, I don't either, so we agree on something. So.
Yeah, but like that's like super happy. They really tried to write a really happy song, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I love REM. I mean, up to Life's Rich, before they went major label, I love those records. I saw them twice, or very early on. They are great. I mean, there's those. I have those records. I have bootlegs. I mean, they mean the world to me. So, but I mean, everything after that. But that's what I'm saying. It's hard to pick favorite bands because majority of their careers I don't even like. So it's hard to say this band's my favorite when 80% of the careers I find unlistenable.
Yeah, no, it's quite. Most bands do have a fallow period, don't they?
I mean, I guess you can look at the Smiths. I don't like the last record. I don't hate it, but they broke up and they didn't. I mean, you look back, like, wow, everything you basically did was really good. So,
yeah. So the 10-inch record, what are you thinking?
I don't hate them. I have about that many. I actually dislike 7-inches more than I dislike 10-inch. I've never been a fan of the 7-inch, just because it's too short. 12-inch, though I didn't show you really hardly any at the beginning. 12-inch singles that's my passion. For what you see here, I have 10 times this amount downstairs in 12 inches. But I like the 10. The sad thing is, all I ever wanted when labels started pretending they liked me, all I really wanted was a 12-inch single. And the first 3 records after were all 10 inches. So I was like, it wouldn't end. And I was getting fucking pissed. I'm like, give me a fucking 12-inch. So I have, 3 10-inch. But anyway, I do like them. Right. And I got to call this by far my favorite of all time, which is Six Finger Satellite, Machine Cuisine.
Cool. Yeah,
this record is phenomenal. And just to show you how great I am, I also have the cassette companion that was mail order that came with it also. I didn't mail order it. I was friends with the band. They gave me a copy, so I'll take it however I can. But yeah, this record, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Vaguely, yeah. What label's it on?
Sub Pop.
Yeah.
So they had the first record, which was still very brutish Sub Pop, kind of quasi grunge, AmRep signing, and then this 10-inch came out, and it's before anyone was doing anything like it. It was very craft work. It was very, I mean, there's like no guitars on it. It's just really harsh electronics. It's fabulous. I recommend anyone check it out. It's a great record, and the cassette is just as good. But absolutely my favorite 10-inch, one of my favorite records. It's really, but yeah, you look back. I hate the term ahead of their time, and I know it's semantics, but I fucking hate that when people say a band's ahead of their time, because they're not. They're doing something other people aren't, and you're behind the times, going backwards. I know it's semantics. People are like, well, it's the same, that, you know. I don't care. I hate the fucking term ahead of their time. That being said, Six Finger Satellite were ahead of their time. And then the other one is another one of my favorite records, which ties into records you were showing earlier, which would be Boulder, the 555 10-inch. And I remember Luke talking about one of the problems with 10-inches is where the hell do you file them? Yeah. But Boulder, being the Cleveland fucks that they are, what they did was, I don't know if you can see it, but there's little staple marks. This was stapled to a 12-inch album cover, and that's how the first one I think almost all of them were done. So it was just stapled on there, and it was on some like thrift store record, and it was funny and cool. But we file it, the staples on the other side would just scratch the other records, or they get caught and pull it. So I just ripped it off out of frustration. And now I wish I had it. I don't even remember which record it was stapled to, but this record is Boulder, one of the greatest Cleveland bands. Pre-Midnight, it's Athenar's band before Midnight. They were incredible. Seeing them live, there was no one who could. I mean, I saw some of the shows, but there were shows I didn't see that were so fucked up, and I wish I would have seen them. Like Roadkill, taken out of a garbage can, thrown into the audience, or put in that. You know, they were famous for. I saw them at this Youngstown, where I grew up, which is about an hour away from Cleveland. There was this festival. It was like all stoner rock. They had it for many years. And I drove down there to see Boulder, and I took my friend who lived there, and Boulder was coming on, and my friend rushed the stage, and I grabbed him by his collar. I'm like, you don't want to rush. He's like, I want to be up front. I'm like, you don't want to be up front right now. So I grabbed him, pulled him to the back, and tried through. They came out with their backs turned, and they turned around, and he had a brick of firecrackers and lit them, and just lazily threw it into the pit, and so a huge brick of firecrackers just went off, and they started to that bang, and it was phenomenal. I saw him at an outdoor show. There's one of the many college stations. They had one every year. It was a free show, and it was on this giant stage outside, and there was all these bushes, but it was super high, 15, 20 feet high, and Athenar. Oh God, I hate saying that. The famous Judas Priest, where Rob Halford's coming out on the motorcycle. Yeah. Came out on this huffy bike, dressed up like Rob Halford, and just rode it over the edge of the stage right into the bushes. And then they just kicked off. But yeah, they were phenomenal. Sorry for the tangent. I just had to bring up some old memories.
No, it's cool. I love it's like sometimes your local music scene can be more important to you than the big bands of the world. You can be more influenced by what's happening on the corner of your street musically. So it's awesome.
A lot of times you'll see bands doing things that you're not seeing anywhere else in the world. And you're like, they're doing it here, and nobody knows it's happening. So it's it's inspiring and exciting.
Yeah. Like how, let's talk about Midnight just quickly. How, if they were to play in Cleveland, what size venue?
They still play now. That's last time they played. Unfortunately, last time they played, it was right before it was last February. I was playing in Chicago, so I missed them. I was very upset, but they still play because they're true. They play Now That's Class. And I mean, it sells out immediately and it's packed, but they usually would play that, or there's a place called the Agora, which is bigger. I've seen them there, but they'll play Now That's Class while they're in town. It'll be outrageously packed, but they'll still do it.
Yeah, because the Dome where we saw them is 500.
Oh, they can handle that. They're pretty popular.
Yeah.
I mean, they're popular here too, but they just they don't play here very often.
Probably wise, right? Keep it.
It's up to them. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I still would like to see them, but I'm just upset I missed that last show, and God knows when the next one will be. So
soon, 100% definite.
It will. God does know, and I think I know too. It'll be soon.
Yeah. So, have you got anything else you want to talk about? You got any other records to show?
Yeah, I wanted. One of the questions wasn't important. I just want to bring up a record was very important to me, still is, and that would be the first blasting concept compilation. This was 84, 85. I just found out about Black Flag, and I was like, oh, they're on this. And I got it, and lo and behold, I had no idea about the Meat Puppets or Saccharine Trust, and two of my favorite Worms on here and Overkill, two of my favorite bands. But so yeah, I got this record because of Black Flag, and then all the other things on here, like, it just opened me up. But at the time, I didn't know any difference. I mean, to me, Saccharine Trust was punk. It was hardcore. I don't know what it was. I didn't know how to differentiate, but this record has aged very well, and I've gone on to buy most of the, I have original copies of the Overkill single and the Worm single, which I love. But this record it was just a great time where it wasn't like, oh no, that's not punk. It was like, sure, that's it. That's the same as Black Flag. They're doing the same thing. It just sounds different. So that record was very important to me, and I still love it. Though I haven't played it in a while. Maybe I should. But there's that, and then one more.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I'll show you that one later. But Major Stars, they're on Twisted Village.
Right.
They went on to be on some like higher up indie labels, but this was their first or second record. And they played Cleveland. They opened for the Japanese band Ghost.
Oh, and, yeah, I know them. Yeah.
I was really excited because I was hugely into the PSF record scene, and I'm like, I can't believe Ghost is playing here. It was Ghost and Major Stars, and because there was two members, Damon and Naomi from Galaxy 500 were they were the rhythm section.
Okay.
But anyway, they opened up, and they came out, and it was the most intense. It's just a jam, blinding dual guitar. It just cracked me open. I mean, to this day, it's one of the most. I mean, I saw My Bloody Valentine on the Loveless tour. I mean, I sat through 25 blinding minutes of You Made Me Realize, where I went deaf, and when they came back, I saw their hands moving across the guitars, but there was still nothing but a buzzing in my ear. I mean, that show by Major Stars made that change, and I immediately was like, I'm starting a band that's like this, and I did immediately afterwards. But they were incredible. They played 15 minutes straight, just nonstop guitar jams, and it was solid. And they just stopped. They're like, we have one more, and they did 15 more minutes, and it was over. And I was like, this is how it's done. This is what live music is. You're not supposed to be like, here's our new song. Hey, how's everyone doing tonight? It was just like, here's 15 minutes of pummeling. Okay, take a sip. Here's the next 15 minutes, and then buy our merch. So that record's important. And then finally, I just wanted to show, this is the first PIL bootleg ever. This is the original 79. Terrible, sounds like shit, but doesn't matter. But it was just on white cardboard. But the copy I have, someone loved the band so much, they cut out pictures of everyone and put them on the back.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah, so it's a special record to me because PIL's, I mean, I bought second edition when I thought it was a Sex Pistols record, and I played it, and I just stared at it. I stared at the speakers, and I didn't understand it, but I knew it was something important. But I remember, like, I don't think I like this, but I got to listen to it over and over, and which a lot of people it happened to.
Talking about the importance of bass, that band.
Yeah, that Jaw Wobble's bass. Yeah, it again shifted what, like, oh, you can be out of tune and out of time. And it makes more sense than ever. I mean, it wasn't completely out of tune and out of time, but it wasn't standard. It was just rolling around.
Yeah.
The band I was in played with Invaders of the Heart, and I was so excited to meet Jaw Wobble, and he was super nice. And I had him sign my bass, which I usually don't. And he signed it, and he was very sweet. And then I came home, and I was staring at it, and I was like, he just ruined there's a fucking marker all over my bass. So I got a towel and put some rubbing alcohol, and I wiped it all off. I I'm like, whatever. I saw him sign it. It doesn't have to still be on there. I don't like, so yeah, I just wiped his name off of it.
What was the name of the band you were in?
That band was called Speaker Cranker with a slash in it. Because there was no font for AC/DC Lightning Bolt, so we used a backslash. And that was all instrumental, very krautrock, 2 guitars, bass, it was 2 guitars, 2 keyboards, bass and drums. I played bass in that band, and one of my best friends who's gone on, Jim Jones, who was in Electric Eels, Mears, Perubu, he was in that band, which is like, he saw us play once. We had one show without him, and he was like, "I need to be in your band." And I'm like, I'm like, excellent. And so he joined, and we were around for like 3 years, did a lot of shows. It was just all instrumental, completely improv, never practiced. But yeah, Jim was a huge influence in my life, major. And I miss him every single day, but there's not a record I can pull. I can pull out 1 out of every 10 records. It's something he turned me on to, because he was around when all of it was happening, and he was super nice. No one could dislike Jim Jones, and he had all these amazing stories. So.
Yeah, well, actually, I do a different sort of band. I'm just a noisy rock band, and we played with Perubu about 4 or 5 years ago. And
Okay.
My main memory, apart from your man being rather grumpy, was
Not my man, I'll tell you that much.
Was that I'm pretty sure on his rider, like as in what he said to the promoter, was that he needed to be within 10 foot at all times of somewhere where he could smoke.
David Thomas?
Yeah, the singer guy, yeah. Really weird.
Yeah, because I don't know if he smokes.
Yeah, it was really weird.
He's just a pain in the ass. I mean, I had many, he would come to town and Jim would have him over, and we sit at the kitchen table, and it was just those two reminiscing, and I was just a fly on the wall hearing them talk about stuff. And I mean, this wasn't told when David was there, but there's a famous picture of their first tour, Perubu, of England. And there's a picture, they're in front of Stonehenge maybe, but he's wearing a trench coat, and the left sleeve is missing from the elbow down. It's ripped off. And all these people was like, "Oh, he's so avant-garde. It's Fluxus. It's crazy." And Jim's like, the story about that? We played a show late. He bought fish and chips from a shop, and we were walking home, and a stray dog attacked him, trying to grab his fish and chips, and he fought the dog off for the food, and the dog ripped his sleeve off, and that's how the sleeve came off, because he wouldn't give up his food to this rabid dog.
And as with Elvis Costello's Ricketts, that is still what it's like on this island. Dogs chasing you for your food.
No more newspaper though. You can't. Nothing's right. You don't have newspaper on the fish and chips.
No. That's still a saying though. What is it? Today's news is tomorrow's chip paper.
People still say that?
Yeah, of course we do. We're stuck.
Makes me happy.
It's been really good talking.
It's been great. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I hope I didn't get too. I get worked up, so hopefully I wasn't.
No. We reeled it in. It was nice. Yeah. But thanks a lot for agreeing to do it.
Oh, thank you for asking me. Yeah, it wasn't my agreement. It was your letting me be on here, and I really appreciate it.
So we're going to wave goodbye.
Hold on. This guy's bothering me. All
right. What's his name?
Sherman. Want to say something? No. He's been bothering me for the last half an hour, so I had to get him on.
I've got the hound is asleep at my feet. Normally he pays a visit, but
yeah, I see.
And he's a bit aggro. So we'll wave goodbye. I'll press stop, but then we can say goodbye properly afterwards.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Take it easy.
Bye, Joe.